What was David Hume's basic epistemology? Hume's foundational approach to knowledge, known as empiricism, asserts that all our knowledge springs from sensory experiences. To understand this, one can imagine the mind as an empty canvas at birth. As we encounter the world through our senses, we begin to fill in the canvas with impressions or sensory experiences which form the basis of our knowledge. Hume differentiates between two types of perceptions, impressions and ideas. Impressions can be thought of as the raw, unfiltered, vivid strokes of paint on the canvas, the first-hand sensory experiences. Ideas, on the other hand, are like sketches or representations of these impressions, but they're usually less vivid and intense. For instance, the sensation of feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin would be an impression, whereas the recollection of that warmth would be an idea. Hume further elaborated that ideas could be simple or complex. A simple idea corresponds to a single impression. It's like a single stroke of color on the canvas, derived from one sensory experience. In contrast, complex ideas are akin to a collage or a more intricate composition, constructed by combining several simple ideas. For instance, the concept of a unicorn is a complex idea. It combines the ideas of a horse and a horn. No one has seen or has the impression of a real unicorn. It's just an idea. However, an important caveat in Hume's epistemology is the lack of necessary connection between impressions and ideas. Our mind often links ideas to corresponding impressions due to habit or custom. But this association doesn't have the binding force of logical necessity. Imagine two dots on the canvas, the impression and the idea. We might draw a line connecting them out of habit, but there's no rule saying that the line must be there. This element of Hume's thought introduces a degree of skepticism into his empiricism, questioning the reliability of our knowledge and our cognitive processes. In essence, David Hume's empiricism paints a picture of the human mind as a dynamic canvas populated by impressions and ideas. His epistemology invites us to critically examine the way we acquire knowledge, the nature of our thoughts, and the connections we tend to make between them. What was Hume's fork? Hume's fork is a concept used by David Hume to separate all knowledge into two distinct categories: relations of ideas and matters of fact. To put it this way, think of Hume's fork as a metaphorical fork in the road. One direction leads to the land of relations of ideas. This is where truths that are independent of our experiences, such as mathematical and logical truths, this is where they live. They're like the rules of a board game. They don't change and they don't rely on the outside world. Denying these truths creates a contradiction, like saying a square circle exists. It doesn't make sense because the rules of geometry don't allow it. Or we might have heard the example, a married bachelor. It's a contradiction. Bachelors aren't married. Now, remember we're talking about this is a fork, so that's one direction. Remember, we were talking about this being a fork, so that's just one direction. The other direction leads to the realm of matters of fact. These are truths we discover through our experiences, like our senses telling us it's raining outside or the stove is hot. They could be true or false, depending on what's actually happening in the world. Denying these truths doesn't lead to a contradiction. It just describes a different state of the world. For example, saying it's not raining outside Now, Hume's fork poses a problem for certain kinds of claims, especially metaphysical ones. Metaphysical claims are statements about the nature of reality that go beyond our sensory experiences, like God exists or the soul is immortal. According to Hume, these claims don't fit comfortably on either prong of his fork. They're not obvious truths like relations of ideas, nor are they verifiable through sensory experience like matters of fact. Therefore, Hume expresses doubt about these kinds of claims, as they can't be validated in the same way as the other two types of knowledge.